I'm Doug Gilbertson. This being 2020 with this COVID-19 pandemic, there have been a lot of disruptions. A lot of businesses have been going through all sorts of troubles. They're not necessarily being locked down now. This is the second wave. We're into November right now. They were locked down in the spring, but they're not yet for the second time. But it's starting to look as if they will be sometime soon. The tango venues in particular have been pretty much closed, most if not all of the time since March. And so a lot of us are looking for things we can do on our own to keep our tango going. And so I've been putting together some of these line dances. The idea is they're based on tango. They give you a bit of practice that you can do on your own at home, the same as I'm doing them here. If you happen to get together with a few extra people that you can do socially distanced stuff with, then you don't have to embrace with, this is the sort of stuff you can do. For this particular dance, it's going to be a short sequence. It's only about 16 beats. And it's really not very complicated. You know, there's a couple little things that might be new to you, but there's only so much you can really fit into 16 beats. So there's not a lot there. But it's based on some older material from the older styles of tango, things that we normally think of as Canyengue. Okay, it's the way it was originally danced before about 1915, 1920 type of time frame. For a long time, there wasn't a lot known about that stuff, especially after the 1980s when people started asking about this stuff. There were a few people in Argentina like Rodolfo Sierri. People asked him, he happened to have learned a bit from his father when he was a little kid. And so he said, well, I can show you what my dad used to do. Louis Grandona was a very good dancer, but in the 1950s, he learned a bit from Tito Luciardo, who had been a dancer in a lot of the old movies. And then after learning from him, Grandona went on and added a few things of his own, which worked very nicely as a complete package for this particular beat. And he became a very good resource as well. There's also some books that were written during the 1910s, mostly in Europe. There were a couple in the United States, which are really not worth bothering with if you want to read them and learn from them. I have a copy of one of them, and if you want to study this thing and learn how tango was danced in those days, it's really not going to happen. It's really not very well written, doesn't explain things very well. But if you start finding out some of these other steps elsewhere to the point where you can start doing them, and then you get into one of these books and you start reading through some of these things, you start recognizing what they're doing and they just instantly look familiar. So I'm going to be providing a couple of little things to give you just a gentle nudge into this stuff. If you're not used to the Canyengue style, then this will give you something to get started with. The big distinctive feature of a Canyengue is the rhythm of the music. It's what's called a Habanera beat. It comes from a particular piece of music. It's actually a type of aria, which was in a particular opera that came out in 1875. The opera was called Carmen. The piece of music was actually called something else, but it became known as the Habanera because its distinctive feature was this particular rhythm, which is like a long and then double short, like a da dit dit da dit dit da dit dit. Okay, you can excuse the Morse code, but it's that sort of thing. It's long, short, short, long, short, short throughout the whole thing. And the opera was hugely popular. This particular piece of music was hugely popular along with it. And the beat that in this particular piece of music became inspirational for the people that were just starting to write things that would eventually become what we now think of as tango. Okay, tango hasn't really been around very long. They were only just starting to come up with ideas for it in like 1890s, 1900 sort of thing, is when they started publishing things. And so this gave them a basic structure to work with when they came up with the original tangos. And just a little side note, I happened to have come across a Romanian person some years ago who pointed out that a lot of the tangos actually sound with the same sort of beat as some Romanian folk dancing. And so it's a possibility it came from folk dancing in Europe. At this point, it's hard to tell. But that's a possibility. And so the big thing that distinguishes this older music is this habanero beat. And it's a very fixed, very precise beat, which doesn't really allow sliding around as much as the modern tangos do. With the modern tango, they tend to have a lot of more dynamics. They tend to have more drawn-out things. It tends to allow more sort of playing with pauses and doing your own thing type stuff. And with the older music, it tends to be a little less tolerant of that sort of stuff. You have to fit things with that music. And so the older styles tended to be a little more technical, a little bit quicker, partly because in those days they actually had a perception of time which is a little bit quicker than what we have. You know, that there have been studies that have proven that. But this is what you're dealing with in the music. But if you can get into the types of steps that they were doing in those days, you'll find they just start working perfectly. They fit like a glove. So we'll be looking at a few of those. So this particular style, as I say, was very popular in the 1910s, into the 1920s, but around 1920 or so, there were certain individual orchestras that started playing tangos without they were arranging them without the habanero beat. And so it was a little smoother. They became what we now think of as, you can think of as a modern tango. But there were some holdouts still playing with the habanero. One of them was Francisco Canaro, who had started up around 1908, something like that. But he was still playing the habanero beats in most, if not all, of his tangos. I'm not even sure if he played any tangos without the habanero beat. Okay, I haven't heard any that I remember. But the music I'm dancing this one to is a piece that he recorded in 1938 called Pampas. It's a nice little tune. And it just you'll find it just happens to fit perfectly. And so that's the music we're basing this thing on. And so in this recording, as I say, I'm going to be covering the basic sequence, going through the steps, and some ideas on where you can start playing with it in terms of embellishments, because it is fairly simple. It allows some playing around, you know, putting in some personality, spicing it up with the music, you know, these sorts of things. I'm also going to be showing you how to get it into what's called a four-wall line dance. With line dances, you can just go ahead and basically just doing a dance on your own is what a line dance is. And then if you have other people doing it with you, then they're all still doing the same thing on their own. They just might be doing it in unison. That's all. But for a lot of especially shorter line dances, they'll often do a four-wall, which means they'll start off dancing looking in one direction. And then at the end of the sequence, they'll switch around, and so all of a sudden they're pointing in another direction. And then after another sequence, they'll go to the next wall, and they'll gradually work their way around the room. Okay, a room normally has four walls, and so they call it a four-wall dance. And so with this one, you can do the whole thing just straightforward if that's what you want to do, or if that's what you have space for. There's nothing stopping you. But I'll be showing you how to do it as a four-wall dance. If you see my other video where I'm doing just the dance that you can follow along with, I'm doing it as a four-wall in that video. I'll also be looking at listening specifically to the music, partly because we have to stay with the beat in this music because of the type of music it is. I have heard people call this stuff milonga. This is not actually a milonga. This is an original tango with this habanero beat. A milonga is a little different. It's got a different speed. It's got a different rhythm. It's more fixed rhythm. But we have to stay with that. But also, this particular recording is a little bit nasty because it doesn't have much of an introduction. And so it starts right off on the first note with the dance music. And I happen to know when that is. I put the music together so I know when I started on the machine here, then I've got so many seconds before it starts. But you may not have that luxury. And so I'll be looking at, based on how long the sequence is and understanding the structure of the music, being able to count the beats in the music to a point where you get to a good place to start. And there's a couple of options. The way that the dance actually ends might depend on which one of those options you take, but they give you a nice place to start if you miss the front and they don't have an introduction. Okay, a lot of pieces do have some kind of an introduction that gives you some time to get into it and gives you some warning about when it's actually going to start the dance part. But this one doesn't, and so we have to kind of improvise. If we have to, we can make our own introduction by delaying. Okay, so this, as I say, is for an older piece which has this habanero beat. In those days, most of the tangos are written the same way with the same kind of beat, which means this dance can be done to a bunch of different pieces which were all done within that time period. And I'm going to prove it at the end. After the review, I'll be doing it to the music, first off to the Pampas that it was written on, but also to a few others. There'll be a couple of modern orchestras that have resurrected the beat structure in what they play. But there is also one which was actually recorded 110 years ago by the guy who actually wrote that tango. And so you're hearing it from the horse's mouth exactly how he intended it to be played at the time when it was written. Okay, so that could be an interesting feature of this one. So with that, we might as well get started. All right. The whole sequence is a total of 16 beats. It's not very long, and it just repeats a lot of times. The first 8 beats contain something which is the closest anybody has ever come to being able to call a basic step for Canyengue, specifically. A lot of authorities will tell you that Canyengue doesn't really have something that can really be called a basic step, but that doesn't stop some others from teaching something. This particular one is based on what I learned from Nelson Avila when he was still here in Toronto. He gave some lessons on Canyengue and included this as what he called a basic step for Canyengue. And so I'll use it on that basis. And it is a fairly basic step. It fits in nicely with the beat of, the habanero beat of a Canyengue. And so we'll just run through this quickly. You're going to start off with your weight on your right foot so your left foot is free. If you need to, you can step back with your right foot on the dance floor. But here we're going to just step right off with the left. So we go with the left foot to the side. And then we're going forward 2 steps, right, left. And then I'm going to bring my feet together. So up to this point, it's pretty much exactly the same as a regular basic for tango that you've learned. They've been teaching it since the 1980s. Okay? The difference is what comes next. What I'm going to be doing is scooting right off that way with my left foot. This way. And then my next step is going to be with my right foot. I'm going to go a little further that way, out this way. And then I'm going to pivot to come back this way and bring my left foot together. And then I'm going to step back with my right foot. Okay, and this is called the basic for Canyengue. Okay, this is a basic step. It can be a little tricky if you're not used to it, but it is, if you can get this, then the rest of it is fairly simple. And so we'll start off again. Left foot to the left, right, left, together, left across, right, together, and then right back and pivot to face again. Okay, now through this whole thing, I've been more or less oriented with a partner, if I had a partner, so that I don't lose that connection. Now, that's a total of 6 beats. So we need 2 more beats. What I'm going to do is just a little left together to burn my 2 beats. Okay, so I'm going to turn my back to you so you can follow me if you want while we just go ahead and try it. So we'll get started. Left, right, left, together, left, right, together, right, left, and together. I'll come back and we'll try it again. Starting with the left foot, left, right, left, together, left, right, together, right, left, and together. Okay, and that's the first half of the sequence. It's not very difficult at all. It's a little tricky for a couple of reasons. As I say, one is this jog to the side, which is fairly new to a lot of people, but also because of getting the timing. You'll find that the older music has a very definite rhythm. It's based on a habanero beat. Okay, it goes kind of da 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 da. Okay, it has that kind of a short quick quick or long quick quick. And it comes actually from a tune in one of the operas, which was actually called the Habanero. And so it had this particular rhythm, and so this became the Habanero beat. and it got absorbed into tango until they started writing it out. But the original tangos were written this way, with this kind of rhythm, and there were orchestras still performing it. As I say, it was performed always this way until about 1922 or so. And then after that, there were other orchestras that kept going. Canaro, I don't recall any tangos that Canaro did that doesn't have a habanera beat. And there are some other orchestras that have been coming up over the past few decades, which have been resurrecting it. Okay, so just once through again. To get the timing, we got left, right, left and left, right and right, left and left. Okay, and just one little thing that I'm mentioning, I'm taking it up to the basic, putting the foot together with this kind of a step. As you can do this in regular tango. You'll see me do it sometimes. You'll see other people do it sometimes. We'll come up here, and then quite often, instead of just planting here and coming straight off, we'll actually bring the foot together, but then take a side step here and then out. So it becomes a little bigger. Okay, maybe a little more obvious for your partner. Here, I don't have a lot of space, and so I'm not worrying about that. I'm just bringing the feet together and then coming straight out. So, left, right, left and left, right and right, left and left. And that's the first half of the sequence. The second half of the sequence gets into something which goes way back to the original tango in the early 1910s. There is a step that they used to have called court. I've mentioned it in one of the other dances that I did, another one of these practice dances. It was basically a regular walk which is cut short. It's cut, court. Okay, so I'll be walking along, and all of a sudden we'll stop. Or we'll be walking along, and then instead of carrying on, we'll come around and maybe turn around. Okay, these sorts of things. For this particular one, we're going to be starting with the right foot. Okay, we finished with, after this stuff here, I got my weight on the left foot, so my right foot's free. I'm going to be stepping forward with the right foot. And so I'm going to come forward, and then I'm going to come out to the left, and I'm going to plant the right foot together, and then step back with the left. Okay, so it's a little bit fancy, but this is one of the original steps of tango. It was documented in many, many books. I'm going to be getting into a variation, which is in a particular book from about 1914, but there are a lot of books in the era that people have managed to dig up, and this is one of the steps which is considered fairly basic in tango, and a lot of what they did in those days started from this movement. So it was fairly important to tango at the time. So, again, we'll go right foot forward, left foot to the left, plant the right foot, and then back with the left. Again, we got right foot, left, together, left. And that's the timing. Again, right forward, left together, left back. All right, so this thing of changing feet might be something that you have to practice a little bit to get, but it's, as I say, it's fairly straightforward once you manage to get it. After that, I'm going to be just doing a quick forward and backward and forward. Again, I'm coming back here. Now I'm going to basically rock back with the right foot and come back with the left. Step forward with the right and then rock on the left. Okay, and this is kind of a basic forward and back rock. I'll just do it here so you can see. So we'll rock back, rock forward, rock back, rock forward, rock back, rock forward. Okay, so it's, again, this is fairly simple. And then to finish the sequence, we're coming back here, we're rocking here. I'm going to be taking a step back with the left, and then taking a step with the right to the side, and then just bringing the foot behind. Okay, just like that. Which is something you'll do sometimes as a pose in tango. Okay, so this shouldn't be anything particularly strange and unnatural about this. And so we can just take it from up here. We just finished this, and so we've got the right foot free. I'm going to step forward with the right, left together, left back, right and right forward, left and left back, right, left behind. And that's the second half. I'll do it again this way so you can follow me. Right forward, left, together, left back, rock right, rock left, left back, together. Or actually left behind. I'll see if I can say it correctly this time. We're going right forward, left, right together, left back, right rock, forward, right forward, left rock, left back, right, and left behind. Okay, and so that's the second half of this thing. The whole thing is really short, and so I'll just run through the whole thing from the start. We're going left, right, left and left, right and right, left and together. Second half, right forward, left, right together, left back, right rock, left rock, okay, again, left, right, left and left, right and right, left and together, right, left together, left back, right, right, left rock, left, right, left. And then we can do the whole thing again. Just left, right, left together, left, right and right, left and left, right, left together, left back, right, right forward, left rock, left, right, back. back. Okay, so that's the sequence. This one is really not very long, and you'll find that a lot of the older tunes will have a beat which just works nicely for this. I'll be getting into that in a moment. And the only, as I say, the only real tricky thing is keeping up with the timing of this, because the music has that definite beat. But other than that, it's a fairly simple thing. It has a lot of scope for sort of fancying it up a little bit. I'll talk about a few things next that you can do to fancy it up. But that's basically the sequence. One issue you might run into with this one, this particular piece of music, doesn't actually have a lot of introduction at the start. It basically starts right into the regular dance music. And so if you're ready on time, then you can start right off with it, like what I've been doing. But if you need to, you can just delay your start in this music. It involves counting out the music. We know that the sequence is 16 beats. Okay, it's got two halves with 8 beats each, and so we could delay, say, the first 8 beats, or say the first 16 beats, because it's not that long. and then just pick right up. Okay, so you'll be listening to the music and counting in the music until you get to the spot where you can start. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just play the music now. We can count the beats in the music so that you can hear where we would start. There's a couple of options, as I say. If you wanted to delay it, we'll just start this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right here you can start. And then everything else is exactly the same. So if you're not used to listening to the music, get used to listening to the music so you can hear the beats and you can count them. So let's just start. I'm going to just start the music again. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can start here. Okay, so we can start there. With this particular piece, that brings us to the finish of the music and a slightly different spot. We're going to be ending after this as opposed to after this. But then, you just hold your pose and that's the end of the music. So that's not bad. You can do that. The alternative is we can wait for a full 16 beats, and we happen to know that this thing is going to be an actual multiple of 16 beats, this music. And so if we wait 16 beats, then we can just pick right up and then go right to the end. And so we'll just start it again. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See, and everything is exactly the same from here. Okay, so if you get music, I'll just shut off the noise. If you get some music which doesn't have any kind of warning of when it starts, but you know the structure, especially if you've heard it before and you know what to expect, then there is a possibility of just waiting a certain number of beats and starting up then. You can basically make your own introduction from a part by letting it run for a certain number of beats. So that's one of the little tricks you can have to give yourself a little bit of warning so you're not caught off guard. Now, the idea of this is it's a line dance. The idea of a line dance is it's an actual dance that you can do. And under the circumstances, you can do it at home, just watching this video, or you can do it outside. If you got some friends, you can do your socially distanced dance and everybody can do the same thing. And so it gives you a chance to actually dance around a little bit. Now, what I was doing just a moment ago was basically keeping everything oriented in the one direction. I'll just face the same direction you're facing. We're going up here, out to the side, in here. We're still looking forward. We're coming here, rocking back, rocking forward, and then come back here, and then we're starting again, still going forward. Okay, now a lot of line dances historically have not always been very big. This one is not very big, same as a lot of them. And what they'll sometimes do to give it a little bit of variety is what they call a four-wall dance. What they'll do is they'll start off dancing looking in one direction, and then after the sequence they'll switch over to look at another direction. Okay, you think of going from this wall over to this wall, and then we'll dance this way now. And then after this sequence, we'll switch over, and so now I'm dancing towards this wall. And after this sequence, I'm going around to dance towards this wall. Okay, so it's called a four-wall dance. And what we'll do, we're going to start off with the regular sequence, just come right up here, and forward, rocking. Okay, this is our sequence. Now here, we have an option. If we want to keep going this way, which, I mean, nobody's going to throw you in jail if you want to do this, if you don't have a lot of space. Okay, we can just come straight to the left again and carry on again this way. What we can also do is come out to the side, but out this way. If you think of having a partner, you'll be going into like a mirror. Okay, or like a parallel walk type thing. Okay, and so what we'll do is we'll finish the sequence here, and then start this way. Okay, I'll do it this way so you can see from this way. We're back here, and then I'm just gonna go from this wall to this wall. Okay, if I'm starting this way, okay, I'm gonna be finishing the sequence here, and I'll go this way. And so at the end of the sequence, I'm just pushing straight off, and then right, left together. Left, right. So the only difference is instead of just doing a straight side step and carrying on this way, we're just twisting around, going to the other wall, and then carrying on the same as before in this new direction. And so that's how we make it a four-wall dance. It's pointing literally to each of the four walls in sequence. And so I'll just lead it through quickly. We're starting off left and left, right and right, left and together, right, left together, left back, right rock, left, right, left. Now here, two, together. See, it's exactly the same. I'm just going this way now. Now I'm going to go this way. Now I'm going to go this way. Now I'm going to go this way. Okay, and so that's an easy thing. If you look at the other video where I'm doing the actual dance, that's what I'm doing. I'll be doing this probably through most of the rest of this video. It just makes it a little fancier. It gives you a little more variety because you're changing the view a little bit. You're looking at different walls instead of just one wall. Okay, this wall behind me is a little boring. I've got other things going on these other walls, and so I can look at each of them in turn. I can even look at you guys over here. And so it just adds a little interest if you have the space. You can see you don't need a lot of space. You just step a little shorter. I don't have a lot of space here. But if you're really tight for space, then there's nothing wrong with just keeping everything right here. Just keeping the same start spot, okay? So you can use that as one of the options when you're dancing this thing. As I said, this is a fairly simple sequence. One of the nice things about a simple sequence is quite often is it has a lot of allowance for spiffing up things as you want with whatever you can fit in yourself. It can add a little bit of personality to it if you want. And this one is not a lot different from that idea. Specifically in the second half, the first half is just a regular basic. You can do whatever you want with the basic. You can tap to start. Okay, you can, as I say, instead of coming together up here, you can step up, come across, get a little extra space. Okay, you might be able to do some kind of a little boil there or something like that, just to spiff it up, except you're having it come together, so you'd have to play with that and see what you can come up with. But if you can come up with some kind of an adornment that works, then great. But there's a lot that we can add specifically in the second half. In the second half, we're starting up here with the right foot free. Okay, we've just finished this. So we're doing what's called a quart. Okay, this is a very old step. Right forward, left, right together, and then back with the left. Okay, that's your basic, well, one of the basic quart steps that they used to have. Now, there is a particular book which was written in 1914. You probably see copies if you look around, called Secrets of the Tango, by a guy named S.B. Chester. It was published in England in 1914. And it has illustrations in it from an Argentinian fellow who was actually a young fellow whose parents sent him to Europe to study engineering. And he found that he was making so much money teaching tango to the people over in Europe that he didn't really worry too much about studying his engineering. He basically became a tango teacher. But this book documents some of the steps that he did. Some of them are basically, a lot of them are actually just variations on what you've seen in some other books that happen to be around. There's a website that I ran across, which is basically a historical dance site, and they've resurrected a lot of these. They've gone through a lot of the old literature on tango that they managed to find and put together some of the things that were common, and they found certain ways of doing certain things that were common to all of them. And with quart step, there was a few of them. I mean, it's basically, as I say, just something where you're stopping short or changing direction. Okay, these sorts of things. It's basically a step that's cut before it can carry on. Now, with this particular quart, we're coming forward with the right, left, and then right together, and then back with the left. There are some things you can do with this. First thing is, there is a tendency whenever stepping forward, and if you're going to be doing a side step, there's a tendency for people to go straight out here. Okay, no. You want to together and then over. It's the same as regular tango, okay? Eventually, you will hear enough voices telling you that without you having to have the people around, that you'll start doing it correctly anyway. Okay, so we're looking for forward. You see I came together and then out to the side. Now, one way of sort of spiffing that up a little bit, which also helps to enforce the idea of keeping the feet together, is to take your right step forward and then just do a little tap with the left foot before going out. Okay, and so it becomes right, tap, left. I'll just do that again. Right, tap, left, together, left, back. Okay? So that's one little thing you can toss in. Another one is actually written in that book, and if you try and read that book without having seen anything done it before, it becomes not very intuitive. It's not very well written, and it's hard to follow. But all he's doing is he's tossing in a little kick as he goes to the side. So it's the same thing. Forward with the right, left. But then as he goes to the left, he's just tossing in a little kick. And so it becomes right forward, left kick. I'll do that again. Right forward, left. Okay, you're still trying to keep that timing because you can't delay or else you're going to go off time. All right, so we'll go right, left. Right, left, back. Okay, and so that's something which was documented as a particular fellow's variation on a court step. It was published in 1914, so this is the way tango was originally danced. And he actually mentions later on, I mentioned before that there's no real basic for Canyengue. There's another point in that same book where he mentions that there was a lot of steps that they could do which started from this court. So it became a very important step. It was kind of a lead-in to other things. So you could, and then from here go straight into other things. Or you can come up here, come together, and then come off this way. You know, there's a lot of stuff you could do from this cut step. You're basically stopping the proceedings, and so you can do something else. And so we've got that as an adornment we can do. Okay, we can step forward, little tap here, cross with a kick, and together, and then back. Now, another thing we can do is we've got our little rock steps. I'll do it again from here. I'm coming forward, back, then we're rocking here, coming forward. I'll just carry on quickly because I'm going to be talking about something we can do in this stuff. What I can do is I can do a little tap. Okay, so there's another little thing you can do as an adornment. You're basically keeping your own rhythm here. Okay, I don't know if the microphone is sensitive enough that you can hear this, but I'm actually keeping that rhythm. Okay, and so if we want to fancy it up, we can come forward, tap, round with a kick, then back, tap, rock back, forward, tap, and then around here. All right, so that's some things you can do, some ideas that you can toss in for adornments that you can work into this thing. It's simple enough that you can play with it. If you come up with other things, then you're welcome to try them, so long as they fit the music and they fit the sequence. All right, for the ending, I'm just coming straight around. If you watch my other video, you'll find that instead of just doing a straight back here and then coming straight out, for the ending, I'm actually ending there because the music happens to end there. But what I'm doing is instead of going all the way stretching back here, I'm just planting it in here. Okay, so that's a little variation I'm doing on the ending. We could also do something where I'll just do the last little bit of the sequence here. We're rocking and then coming into this stuff here. Instead of that, I can come straight back into here if I don't need the extra steps. Okay, this is going to be early. If I want to carry on with the same number of beats, I can go left as before, and instead of going to the side, I can just carry on back again, and then around this way, with a little bit of a lunge. And so it becomes, okay, we got a little bit of a lunge ending. And so, as I say, there's lots of things you can do to play around. Those are just some ideas that you can play with. But it's simple enough, the sequences, that you can easily add a bit of personality. This is a bit of a start of that. You know, give you something to practice on, and as you get some other ideas, you can try them out. At this point, you should be able to figure out the sequence. We've gone through it a few times. What I'll do is I'll walk you through a few rounds of it, just to make sure, as a kind of a review. And then after that, I'll basically put on some music and dance it to the music. And so I'll start off looking the same direction you are. And I'm going to be doing 4-wall. If you don't want to do 4-wall, you can just keep in the same direction and just do what I do. So we'll start off with the left foot. Left to the left, right, left, and left. Right and right, left and together. Second half, right, left and left back, right and right, left and left, right, left. Left, right, left and left, right and right, left and left, right, left and left back, right and right, left and left, right, left, left, right, left and left, right and right, left and left, right, left and left back, right and right, left and left, right, left, left, right, left together, left, right and right, left and left, right, left and right, left, right and right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left and left, right and right, left and left, right, left and left, right and left, left. At this point, you should be able to follow on. Just fancy it up a little bit. Okay, and carries on from there. And so what I'll do is I'll put on some music. I'll start off by putting on the music that I was actually writing this for. So you can run through that. And then I'll put on a few other pieces. One of the joys of the older music with this habanero beat is they tend to be fairly close in terms of the rhythmic structure, a lot of them. And so this is actually something you can do for a lot of these older types of pieces. You can dance Canyengue to them if you know the Canyengue. If you don't, then you've got a little line dance here that you can do on your own, get you into the beat. I'm going to start off with an example from the early days of tango. Okay, as I say, this is an old way of writing tango, the way they did this. The piece that I'm actually doing this to is being played by Canaro. It's a recording from 1938 called Pampas. But by that time, tango had already started to change a little bit to a little closer to what we normally think of as tango now. Canaro is a bit of a holdout, along with a few others. What I'm going to play after that is one by a guy named Vicente Greco. Has a tango named, what's the name of it? El Garrotazo, which is a tango that he wrote. And it's going to be a little bit of a muddy recording because it's the best I can get from a recording from 1912. Roughly. And so this is the way tango was actually played back in the 1910s. And you can hear that the beat is exactly the same as what Canaro is doing. And then I'll do it for a couple of others, a couple of other orchestras, which are fairly recent, just within the past few decades, that have been resurrecting exactly the same beat. You can do it exactly the same way. A couple of them you might have to play a little bit with the ending, but that's easy. The rest of it is exactly the same. Okay, and so I'll put on with the music and you can see what's going on and just carry on from there. So that's this dance. I hope you like it. As I say, it's for a lot of pieces which have this very strong habanera beat, which a lot of the older pieces do. We proved it first off by having the music that I was originally writing it for, and then doing it again to a few other orchestras and recordings, including one that was recorded 110 years ago. And so saying it's not tango is just not going to cut it, because this is the way tango was before 1920. This is original music. And so there is nothing wrong with some of these things coming from what we now call Canyengue. It's actually very good to know some Canyengue, because there is some of this music is still around, and it's a handy beat to have. Some of the steps are still very usable, and they're still very pretty to do. And so it's a good background to have. And there is not a lot of Canyengue around, and surprisingly. It was lost for a long time, and there's only a few people in Toronto that have really gone very deep into it. And so it's a good thing to pick up a little bit just to get yourself noticed. We talked about how to handle the music. With these things, they tend to be more of a fixed beat with a particular rhythm, and so it tends to be less tolerant of playing around. You have to pay attention to the music to be able to stay with it. And some of these, especially the older pieces, tend to be a little bit quicker than we're used to now. That's actually come up in a few things about music, like period music, is at the time they were actually playing things a little quicker than the way we normally would now. There was a few other variations that they used to have. We talked about how to take a simple line dance like this and make it a little fancier by turning it into a four-wall dance. We actually did this as a four-wall dance, basically pointing at each wall in sequence. We talked about taking something which is relatively simple and adding some embellishments to put in a bit of personality, make it a little more interesting, a little more variety, these sorts of things. And so there's actually a fair bit covered in this. So I'll leave that with you, and I hope you like it.